Well, my name is Russell. This is Corey, and we're from Custom Building Products, and we want to kind of take you guys down memory lane here a little bit. You guys remember 4 1/4 showers? Little 9 square foot shower pans, 6 foot walls, mud lath and plaster. You could destroy the home. The only thing left standing is the shower, right? And if you were well off, you got black tile and a frosted glass door. That was the good old days, right, sir? You bet. Well, those were great. We had great products. We had great technique. We had great installers. But now we have this. Fit a small basketball team in there. Who needs a shower with a boulder in it? I'm not quite sure. But we have big showers now. We have big designs. We have things that aren't square. We have triangles and trapezoids. We have glass everywhere, large format tile. These have become highly technical because of their aesthetic value. So when we talk about doing things in a traditional sense with traditional materials and traditional methods, we're basically compounding the idea that it takes a long time to put a shower together. So we've gone from a couple of days with a smaller shower unit now to more than a week in some cases with some of these large format tiles and large showers. But if we could give you guys a different technique, and we'll start by comparing the old school technique with a brand new one. You see here, you've got a layer that is your sloping pre-mortar. You've got a pan liner, a reinforced sloping mortar, and then you can bond your tile on top of that. All of that takes a long time to dry in layers. Most of your time when you're dealing with a shower is you're waiting on things to dry. Got to wait on your pre-slope to dry. Got to put your pan liner on top of that. Got to wait for your sloping mortar to dry. Got to go ahead and put your tile on top of that. Wait for your bonding mortar to dry. Then you can grout it. And sometime during that week, maybe your customer can take a shower, right? If we gave you a change of technique and product, such as this, take that layer of pre-slope and sloping mortar, minus the lath and minus the shower pan material, and put it in a single layer on the bottom. As you can do, I'll show you a product called Custom SpeedSlope, Rapid Curing Sloping Mortar. Follow that up with Custom Speed Coat, which is a moisture cure, rapid cure waterproof membrane. And you can see the dry times on the side of the screen here. 90 minutes for your shower pan float material, 1 hour per coat between your 2 coats of waterproofing. You quite literally, depending on your skill set and depending on the size of your shower pan, be able to be ready to tile or water test day 1 instead of day 2 or day 3. You guys do your own shower pans? Do you guys use a traditional mud or an insert? Traditional mud. How long do you guys normally have to wait until you can water test? Okay, all right. So you guys don't necessarily have to flood test or pressure test. So you just go right on and move, but you're into, right. So basically by day 3, you're tiling. Okay, so if you guys could tile or water test by lunch on day 1, would that make you some extra money? Cool. All right, so this is what we're gonna talk about, SpeedSlope. It acts just like a regular 4-to-1 sand mix. Looks just like it, packs just like it, feels just like it, but it's got some really, really great water retentive chemicals in it that make it consume its own water rapidly. You can go up to 5 inches on your perimeter screed. You can also use this for trenching. You can use it for ramping, and we'll talk a little bit more about that when Corey's done. But I'm gonna let Corey tell you a little bit more about the mix, about the way it feels, and you guys will be able to see how it packs in. Corey?
All right, good morning, everybody. So, with a fast setting, am I on? Am I good now? All right. So, with a fast setting material, whether it's fast setting mortar, thin sets, grouts, if you leave it in the bucket where it's contained, it's going to generate heat. That's how it sets itself off. You're going to basically generate more heat when it's enclosed, and it's going to lose a little bit of your working time. So what we recommend is taking that first bucket, dumping all of it out. We're basically pretending this is a small shower pan so that you can just see the process. And once you dump it out, use that first bucket to set your perimeter screeds and to set your screeds that determine the pitch to the drain. And then once you've done that, and each subsequent bucket that comes out, dump all of the contents of each one of those buckets out as well. And then you're essentially kind of layering the pan as you go through the process. With the thought being that your last bucket is going to be on the top. It's going to be the most working time, and it's going to give you the the time to mix basically make a nice smooth surface for your last finish coat. So this is a dry pack. We actually, you can mix this in a plastic mix. You can do ramping, you can float countertops. But this, you got dry pack, and you'll see if you've ever, once you work with this, it's got a finer sand than what you see in a traditional mortar bed. Those generally have a washed plaster sand, and it's a little more, angular cut. And the nice thing about this is once you start working with it, you get any voids, and I'll show you this in a second. That fine sand really translates into real nice, smooth, tight finish. So once I get this all cut off, you'll see that what we do with these voids, we just kind of sprinkle this in, and that fine sand feathers it in really nice. And getting that nice smooth surface is important when you're following that up with a liquid applied waterproof membrane. And once you get that thing smoothed out the way you like it, then you're going to hit it with a flat trowel. And then that really smooths it out and tightens it up. Now that's really nice, and it's ready to receive your waterproofing membrane.
So here's your first layer. You can see how well this packs out, how easy it is to actually use, and how fine a surface you get with this product. You don't necessarily have to do it just for shower pans or just for trenching or anything like that. You can literally use this as a small skim coat, rapid setting skim coat, because it finishes out fine enough for even resilient floor covering to go over top of it. Now the next layer we're going to talk about is our waterproofing layer, but before that I want to show you, this is the, see, I can't push buttons today. This is what it looks like in what we call our plastic consistency. So we're at about 3 1/4 quarts of water for a dry pack. You can go up to about 4, maybe a little over, and you can get it this kind of consistency where it's formable, shapeable, right up to that 5 inches and down to almost about 1/4 of an inch. And again, we're talking about 90-minute set time. So if you're going to do a ramp, a trench, you don't have to wait overnight. You can start tiling within 90 minutes. All right, so the next layer we're going to put on is our Red Guard Speed Coat. You guys familiar with our standard Red Guard waterproof and anti-fracture membrane? You've seen this product? This is totally different from that in the fact that the Red Guard is an elastomeric compound. So that means that basically it's kind of latex or acrylic driven and has to dry by evaporation. This particular product is waterproofing only, kind of acts like a urethane, but is not a urethane, but we kind of liken that to the curing process. So it actually cures chemically. We're not necessarily worried about evaporation. And for that reason, we're not necessarily worried about moisture content like relative humidity or even temperature, since it's a chemical cure. So we call it a moisture cure product, and basically when you're looking at a rapid setting sloping mortar, or if you're going to use a standard 4-to-1 mix like these gentlemen use over here, once it gets to a reasonable hardness, even a standard 4-to-1, you can put the speed coat over top of it, and the 2 layers are cure out together, saving you a lot of time, even if you use a standard mix. So I'm going to let Corey give you a little more installation techniques on this and talk more about the product.
All right. So second part in our fast curing mortar bed waterproofing system, our waterproofing membrane. Generally when you first get this, it's going to be a little bit, have a kind of a gel set in the bucket. You just stir that up, it loosens up real quickly with a paint stir stick. And when you're starting out with something new, I'll generally recommend, starting out with a little bit to, get a feel for it, and then you'll determine how much you can work with in a defined amount of time. Generally, I'll tell you, start out pouring out enough that you can use, let's see, in about 10 minutes. So once you pour this in, a little more. It's not a water-soluble material, so you want to get a rag with a little isopropyl or rubbing alcohol. Clean that rim off so that you create a good clean seal. You don't have to snap that lid tight. You just want to put the lid on it. It's similar to paint in that you don't want to leave it exposed to the air because you get a little bit of a skin over on the top of your liquid. Same applies with the material in the paint pan. Work out of a paint pan to start with, and I think you'll find that's the easiest way to do it. You can use a paint roller Paint rollers, though, generally, if you've ever painted, you know that the friction from the roller creates little pinholes and air bubbles. This is a little thicker viscosity, but it still has a little bit of that effect. You can use this where you're basically saturating your roller first. And then you can, basically just proceed with that. But the profile that you have on any substrate, whether it's a backer board, and generally on a mortar bed, it's going to be a little bit rougher, so it's going to take a little more time really forcing it into all the nooks and crannies with the roller. So we actually kind of came up with a different application, just using a grout float. Just get that, spread that out, and that basically forces it into all the nooks and crannies and really gets it down into the profile of your substrate. So to determine that you have an adequate thickness, you're going to use a mill gauge to measure that. That's basically the industry standard for how you're measuring for waterproofing membranes. You don't have to check this every little section, but once you get a feel for the product, you'll know what it looks like when you've spread out an adequate amount. And so basically what we're looking for is 2 6-mil coats. So the mill gauge basically it's got these graduating lengths of teeth that go all the way around for different thicknesses of membranes. Ours requires us 2 6-mil, so we're shooting for a 6-mil to start with. And I'm going to start out over here where you can kind of see the substrate through it, just to give you an idea on how this little tool works. So we're going to push that down, we'll pull it back, so we're a little light, we're only shooting about a 1. Come over here to where you have a real nice deep red color, hit that, and we're right where we want to be. So it's pretty simple to determine that. For transition joints, we're going to use a reinforcing tape, and this is similar to a backer board tape, except that it's got an additional layer of a scrim on the back. It's real, just almost like just a thin layer of fleece. You're going to put that down into the liquid. I'm going to tap that in just so you can kind of see how it wets out on its own. But basically, floor to wall joints, back wall to side wall. If you've got a corner seat in your shower, those joints around the perimeter of a drain, you can see how fast that's kind of just absorbing the material. You can actually fold that and crease it. It doesn't make a real sharp crease, but enough to where when you tuck it into the corner with either a chip brush or your margin trowel, it tucks in really nice. On outside corners, if you have a backer board dam assembly on your shower, you can fold it the opposite way and it hugs in real nice. As soon as it hits that liquid, it just really bites. So it's kind of a sandwich effect. You're putting it into the liquid, putting down your tape, and then you're basically rolling over the top of it. So an alternative method for treating joints, you can use 100% silicone caulk. Any joint that you have that's 1/8 of an inch or tighter, you can actually use the silicone. Fill it pretty good. You want to get the expansive properties of the silicone, but smooth that out with either your finger or your tool. You want that smooth on the wall and the floor though, so when you apply your waterproofing membrane, that's laying flat on the floor and the wall. As soon as you smooth it out, give it 30 minutes to an hour. That'll skin over to the point where when you touch it, you're not getting any wet transfer. That's the indicator that you can go ahead and apply this, and this will bond to your silicone. Don't let it sit too long, because silicone, once it cures for a few hours, it's probably not going to bond the way you want it to. So get it pretty quick, within 30 minutes to an hour. Around the perimeter of drains, you want to make sure your drain assembly is mechanically anchored. You want it either blocked or with straps so that it's not moving. You don't want to be depending on your tape and the waterproofer to stabilize that. So it's a pretty simple process all the way through. When you have a fast setting mud with 2 coats of waterproofing membrane, it's about an hour dry time for each product, for each application. You're ready to go with either your water test or ready to set tile within about 4.5 to 5 hours. So you can literally save yourself days on a shower application.
Thanks, Corey. So, sounds pretty good, right? So then we get to the bonding process. We don't want things to slow down after that. So Custom Building Products, can we go back to the slides? There we go. Custom Building Products has a full line of rapid setting bonding mortars. Be able to grout with those bonding mortars in 4 hours. Have our calcium aluminate cement product, Prism Grout, which develops earlier in the grout joint than a Portland cement does, but it's not necessarily considered a speed grout. But when you get a layer, after layer after layer that gives you the idea that you can really conquer a shower pretty quick, we've kind of taken the whole week-long ordeal out of this, and you actually do more than one shower in a week. So do you guys do your own shower pans? You don't do showers? You guys are smart, right? You guys are really smart. So let that be a lesson. They hire guys. You guys are probably doing their shower pans, right? All right, follow that up with our award-winning line of Aquamix sealers and cleaners. You guys have it from start to finish. But here's the most important part. Time is money. So if you look at, say, just a typical 80 square foot shower, you're looking at a traditional method of being 96 hours. Now we're talking roughly dry time and certain things you have to wait on, not necessarily installation time total. But that's over an hour a square foot. Sometimes that's money you're not making on the job site waiting on something to dry. If you use custom system, it goes down to 54 minutes a square foot. So now you're under that hour and you're able to do twice as much work. So if you could do twice as much work, make just as much money or more money in a single week using products that dry this fast and are still just as good as traditional products, what do you think? Might be pretty good. Cool. Well, folks, if you guys want more information, you can just download our app. You can get it at the Android store, the Apple store. The nice thing about this is it links directly to our website. So from your phone, you can download a material safety data sheet or a safety data sheet, and you can email it direct from your phone without having to have somebody fax it or go look it up somewhere else. It's right there on your phone. The other thing you get with this particular thing is a materials calculator that you can access right on your phone too. We've done a pretty good job with that, and I think you'll find it to be very, very helpful to have. We appreciate it, folks. Thanks a lot for your time. Stick around because I believe you're about to win some awesome prizes. So they better be awesome now because I've already put you on the spot. Thanks again. We appreciate it.